Police chase suspected stolen vehicle on Interstate 5. A black, older model Ford Crown Victoria, suspected of being stolen, was speeding on surface streets and traveling in the opposite direction on Tuesday, May 21, 2024. The vehicle used the emergency lanes on Interstate 5 and continued through residential neighborhoods at a high rate of speed.
Hey, sorry about that. We're having a little trouble with the IFB. This is a pursuit of a stolen vehicle. Looks like an older model Crown Victoria. You just saw it make that jump over the curb. I'm going to get the map and everything up for you guys here in just a second, but the sheriffship is very active, and they are still chasing this vehicle. Just made our way onto Paramount Boulevard, and you can see that vehicle moving along, and we're coming up to a solid red light. These are the ones that I always worry about. Right lane, made a hard turn right there, and now it continues on. Hopefully you guys can follow along now with the map, and I can use both my hands on the controller. Passing cars on the wrong side of the road. This has been a very dangerous pursuit, and the Sheriff's Department have been basically using kid gloves with this. At first, they were right behind him. They were lights and sirens, warning the public, trying to get this guy just to pull over. Guy or gal, we don't know who's behind the wheel, but they were just trying to get him to pull over. It just didn't work. Speeds got faster and faster and faster, got up onto the freeway, and then it really started to move. This person was using those emergency lanes, the far right lane, for quite some time, passing vehicles right and left, and then made that hard stop and got off at Paramount. Now you see it in a residential neighborhood. Now there are sheriff's cars on the ground nearby, but the helicopter is the one that's really keeping an eye on it. This is our first chance to kind of take a real look inside that window there. They were talking about multiple, geez, oh Pete, sorry guys. They were talking about multiple people inside that vehicle. Now, we can't really make that out. I had my window of opportunity, as it would be, and I messed that up. But it does definitely look like there's probably two people at least in the front seat with tinted windows, making it very difficult. There's the sheriffship. They're the ones that are calling it out. The guys on the ground, they're doing what they can to keep up with it.
Wow. Okay, Stu. This is it's going fast, and it seems like it's going faster and faster, picking up speed.
I'm not sure if I'm having a problem with the IFB or not. You guys are cutting in and out, but the pursuit continuing right there. Again, they're doing what they can to keep the public safe. That is their biggest concern, but that vehicle moving along at a pretty good clip, making very erratic turns right there. It almost makes me think that this driver might have an idea where they want to be because of that hard turn that we just saw just a second ago. Sometimes it's like, oh, do I turn here, or this is a spot. So this vehicle might have an idea where they're trying to get to. We've seen this in the past where they just kind of jump out at the end and they run. Now the Sheriff's Department, they're doing what they can to keep the officers on the ground nearby, and that's the best they can do right now. They are not quite surveillance mode, but they are staying close by. They want to make sure that when this vehicle does come to a stop, that they're going to be able to get to that location as quickly as possible and take the driver. The driver is the most important into custody. Other people inside that vehicle, they are going to be important as well, but the driver, that's the one they really want to get their hands on.
Stu, I think you were mentioning how they're being really careful about this and how they approach and handle this situation. It just reminds us of the real tragic pursuit that we covered on Friday, where you never know how erratic a person behind that wheel can be. And we saw what happened on the 405 freeway, how erratic that driver in that pursuit was, going the wrong way, hitting cars with disregard to life, and ultimately injuring so many people, causing a destructive trail of damage. So clearly, like you mentioned, now they must be thinking, okay, we have to approach this very carefully, as we do all the time, because you just never know what the intent of the driver is.
Yeah, that is the most important part of it. And in a stolen vehicle, it makes things a little bit tougher unless they have some sort of information about who might be behind the wheel. Like sometimes when it's a registered driver, like, maybe was involved in some sort of crime, they can run that plate. They have an idea that maybe that driver has warrants. It might be a reason why that driver might be fleeing at such a dramatic way. But in a time like this, when you have a stolen vehicle, they really don't know it, making a U-turn, really really don't know who is driving that car. And believe me, I'm wondering if this person knows where he is. That kind of weird U-turn right there. Again, you just kind of wonder, what is going on down there? Are there two people behind the wheels? Is there a backseat driver? What is the idea here? But it's continuing on, and you can keep an eye on those speeds. These are residential neighborhoods. And you know what, Skyfox, the camera op, me, today might be a little off because I'm having a little difficulty with the camera, but those numbers, I can tell you, are pretty accurate. I hear the officers calling it out as well. They're calling it out, and it's going about 80 miles an hour right now, and we are in a very residential neighborhood out here in the Downey area. And this is the type of stuff that is very, very dangerous. Hit a dip right there. You saw him trying to hit those brakes. And again, this is an older Crown Victoria. Maybe it had a lifetime as an officer's vehicle at one time, or possibly a taxi, or maybe it just was always just a Crown Vic. Making another hard turn right there. Definitely looks like two people in that front seat. Maybe you guys have a little bit better vantage point where you guys are at.
No, unfortunately, we can't really see who's behind the wheel or who's in the car, how many people are in that car, because those windows are quite tinted. But, you know, making a note of all the stop signs that this person is blowing through, and even the lights.
Back on the freeway.
It seems as though, yes, back on the freeway, but driving quite recklessly. I don't know if it's a good thing or bad thing. He's off the surface streets, so I suppose it's better for this person to be on the freeway. But again, like, the concern always is for the people who are on the road, who have no clue what's going on, and that's when things can really get ugly.
And it
you know, it seems like the car is giving up. Seems like the car is giving up. There you go. Doors are popping open. You got two people in that front, and they're just get out and casually walk away. There, don't want to exert any kind of exercise. There you go. Kind of just wandering away. Don't know what you're talking about. I'm surprised they're not trying to hitchhike. That's the kind of casual that we're seeing right there. But you know what? The sheriff's ship overhead, they are making calls right now. I did hear him say that they're out on foot. So this would be a spot where, if there was an officer nearby, this would be the spot to take these two characters into custody. You know, northbound 5 freeway, you can see it right there. We're right by that Lakewood. There's the sheriff's ship. Now they're calling it out. That guy right there in that white shirt, you know, I hope he doesn't try to run across the freeway. It's just going to make things more difficult. And again, he's just kind of looking. Don't do it. Don't do it, dude. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah, there he goes. And then the other one in the red shirt, I believe that's going to be the passenger. I believe. Oh, what are you doing? These are the ones where I just watch this stuff and you're just like, why are you doing? What was that all about?
Right.
Anyway, stay safe. Officers apparently are pulling up. I'm keeping an eye on the guy in the red shirt, because that's the one. That's the passenger. They really want to talk to that driver, but the passenger, I'm sure they're going to want to get as well. You can see other officers kind of making their way over to the passenger. Again, now's not the time to really start to make that move, but you can see it right there. This thing coming to an end as just kind of giving up, hands out, going into custody. And then the driver right there took off his shirt, took off the jacket. Now they are going to stop some of the freeway, northbound 5, just for safety of the public and other, of course, officers. They take these two into custody, but that was a crazy ride for a while. I'm just glad he never collided with anybody on the road.
20 minutes later, the two suspects inside the vehicle stopped on the interstate. The suspects were seen exiting and walking to the side of the road. The suspects surrendered to authorities.